Hi guys, today we are going to talk about the DV lottery or American lottery or the diversity immigrant visa program. We are going to talk about everything there is to know about this program. Are there some eligibility criteria? Are some countries not eligible to apply? What informations are required? Do I need to have a passport before I can apply or not? We are going to talk about all that. So you want to stay through with me to the end and make sure that you are well informed about this program. And I would also like to encourage as many as are eligible to apply for this program, as that may be your gateway to the USA. Some people are on the verge of giving up because they have done it so many times. You never know whether this time is going to be your time, so do not give up. Hi guys, my name is Edwina. You are very welcome to my channel. And if you're at home, I hope you're all good. Subscribe and be part of this lovely family. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. To start with, what is the DV program and what is it about? It's an annual program for immigration to the US where the US allows about 55,000 immigrants access to enter the United States. And these immigrants are from countries who have low rates of immigration to the USA. Countries that have low rates of immigration to the USA. That is why some countries are not eligible to apply. What countries are not eligible? The countries that are eligible are more than the countries that are not eligible. So we want to look at the countries that are not eligible. These countries are not eligible because they've had more than 50,000 natives of these countries to migrated to the United States in the previous 5 years. So the countries that are not eligible because in the last 5 years, more than 50,000 citizens or natives of these countries have migrated to the US. The list remains the same as last year with one addition, that is Cuba. The only African country that is still in remains Nigeria. Okay, so Nigerians are not eligible. The countries that are not eligible are Bangladesh, Brazil, Canada, Republic of China, Colombia, Cuba, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Haiti, Honduras, India, Jamaica, Mexico, Nigeria, Pakistan, Philippines, Republic of Korea, South Korea, Venezuela, and Vietnam. Okay, so with the exception of Cuba, all these countries were already there. So this year has a new addition, which is Cuba. And the only African country in this list remains Nigeria. What is the eligibility criteria? One, the first eligibility criteria is that you have to be a native of a country that is eligible. That is your first eligibility check. Once you meet that eligibility check, the second eligibility check is that you must meet the education or work experience requirement of the DV program by having either at least a high school education or its equivalent, defined as successful completion of 12-year course of formal elementary and secondary education. So you should have at least a high school education or its relevant equivalent. Either that or 2 years of work experience. Either you are using your high school certificate, a minimum of that, or 2 years of work experience within the past 5 years in an occupation that requires at least 2 years of training or experience to perform. So if you are going to use work experience, whatever occupation you find yourself in should be an occupation that requires some training, at least 2 years of training to perform. To be eligible to take part in the 2026 DV program, the country you are coming from, is it eligible? Yes. 2, do you have a high school diploma? Or are you working in a field where you needed at least 2 years training to work in that field, and you have been working for at least 2 years within the past 5 years? Within the past 5 years, have you been working for at least 2 years? If yes, then you qualify to take part of the DV 2026 program. Entries are submitted electronically, and the 2026 program entry started on the 2nd of October 2024. So from 12 noon Eastern Standard Time on the 2nd of October is when it started, and it's going to run through to November 5th, 2024, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Once you check and you meet the eligibility criteria, do not wait until the last week period to enter, as heavy demand may result in website delays. Also, you cannot submit more than one entry. If you submit more than one entry, your entries become nullified. Every person is supposed to submit just a single entry. You cannot submit more than one entry. After you submit your application, you're going to receive a confirmation number, and that is the number you need to keep very well, because after May 3rd, when the results start coming in, that is the number you would use to check if you were approved, if you were successful or not. It is advised that you do this application on your own. However, if you need somebody's assistance or guidance, please try to make sure that you furnish this person with information that is true. Don't leave it to the person. Be with the person and try to give the person the right information. That wrong information may lead to you not even getting visa, even when you come out successful. Another thing I want all of us to keep in our minds, and that is the main reason why we are even having this discussion in the first place, is that not everyone who wins this, who comes out successful in this, gets a visa. You do not want to refuse a visa based on some information you answered wrongly, or some things you overlooked during the application process. So that is the main reason why we are having this discussion in the first place. We are going to look at the information you'd be required to use to complete the form. So you would be required to put in your name. Kindly put in your name as it appears on your passport. Your gender, either male or female. Your birth date, day, month, year, the city where you were born, the country where you were born, and then country of eligibility for the program. For most people, it's the same as the countries they were born in. Entrance photographs. Now, the photographs you use for this has a required dimension. To be on the safer side, if you go to any photo studio, tell them that this is what you are using the photo for, and they will take it for you with that required dimension. You put it on your phone or your pen drive, and then you load it. It is as simple as that. Photo has to be a current photo of yourself within the last 6 months. A photo of yourself, your spouse, and all your children. The next thing is your mailing address. So you provide your mailing address. You also provide a country where you stay. The country where you stay. Your phone number is optional. The email address is very, very important. Email address is very, very important. So provide an email address where you have access to an email address that you have access to. Okay, you check and you are successful. Further communications may be coming from this email, so make sure you provide an email that you have access to. And also note that there are some fraudulent people who try to scam people in this process. So beware. The email is there, but the email is not a means by which the program informs you that you have won. No, check with your unique number, the confirmation number. They do not inform you you have won through mail. So if you receive any such mail, please ignore it. It is only after you have checked and you are successful that subsequent communications may be made to you through your email. And beware of anyone requesting for money from you at this point because you've won. After your email, you have to put in your highest level of education you have achieved as of the day you are putting in your application. So as of the day you are putting in your application, your highest level of education. If it's primary school only, you take primary school only. If it's some high school, no diploma, you take that. High school diploma, you take that. Vocational school, you take. Some university courses, you take. University degree, you take. Some graduate level courses, you take. Master's degree. So sometimes people do not know which one to take. For example, if you are a university student but you have not completed school, you do not have the degree yet. So you will take some university courses because you have not completed to have the degree yet. It is only those who have fully completed and have the degree that can choose the university degree option. I hope we are clear on this. Another area of confusion is the current marital status. The first option is unmarried. So the unmarried option is for people who have never been married. People who have never been married will select the unmarried option. If you have married before and you are divorced, you do not select unmarried. If you are currently unmarried but you've been married before, you do not select the unmarried option. Unmarried is for people who have never been married. Married and my spouse is not a U.S. citizen or a U.S. lawful permanent resident. Married and my spouse is a U.S. citizen or a U.S. lawful permanent resident. This is the option you will take if you are married and your spouse is either a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident of the USA. If you are divorced, there's an option. If you are divorced, don't choose unmarried. There's an option for divorce. And this divorce should be divorced with a legal record, a legal certificate. If you are separated, but you are in the process, but it hasn't ended, you will still have to choose the married option. You choose divorce only when you have your divorce certificate. Widowed, if your spouse is late, you choose a widowed option. Legally separated, there are some countries that before divorce is finally granted, they give a certificate of legal separation before divorce is finally granted. If you come from any of those countries where you get a legal separation certificate before divorce is finally granted, you will choose your legally separated. Mind you, the word is not just separated, legally separated. So let's also have it in mind that this is purely about marriage. It has no room for dating. Or so if you intend to marry someone and you have not married the person, you will put in your application as unmarried. Until you have legally married someone, you cannot put in the application as married. You have to be legally married. If you are looking at marrying the person in the next month or two, at the time you are putting in your application, you have not married the person. So you still go with the unmarried option. From there, we come to name, date of birth, gender, city or town, country of birth of your spouse. You are supposed to provide all this and also a photograph of your spouse. And this photograph should also meet the same dimensions as yours. Okay, so it says that failure to list your eligible spouse or listing someone who was not your spouse may make you ineligible as the DV principal applicant and your spouse and children ineligible as DV derivative applicants. You get it? So failure to list your eligible spouse or listing someone who is not your spouse, and that is what I have been saying all this time. Number of children, the number of children you have, and the number of children includes all your living natural children. Also, all living legally adopted children. Children you have legally adopted means that there should be a document to prove the adoption. You cannot put your sister's children there just because you do not have children. No, if it is found out, you will be ineligible. So if you have adopted them, they should have a document that shows that you have adopted these children. And also all living stepchildren who are unmarried and under the age of 21 on the date of your entry. So your natural children, adopted children, stepchildren, and all of these children should be not older than 21 and they should be single as of the date you are putting in your entry. So you have a child who is going to be 21 by say next week. You can put her in the application today and she is still eligible. But once she turns next week, you wait till next week and she turns 21, she will no longer be eligible and that child should not be married. Some commonly asked questions is that, is there a minimum age to apply for the program? Is there a minimum age to apply? There is no minimum age. There is no minimum age, but the requirement of the high school education or work experience for each principal applicant at the time of application will effectively disqualify most persons that are under 18. There is no minimum age of entry. However, because you are required to have either a high school diploma or 2 years work experience, this will disqualify most people who are younger than 18. It doesn't mean 18 is a minimum age of entry. So if there is a 16-year-old who has meets the eligibility, she can apply. He or she can apply. If there is a 16 or 17-year-old or even 15-year-olds who have completed high school and meets the eligibility, they can apply. There is no minimum age of entry. And then is there a maximum age of entry? There is also no maximum age of entry. So everyone, once you meet the eligibility criteria, feel free to put in your application. It is free and you can never tell. Application is open. You can submit anytime from now till November 5th, like we said. If you are in the US and of legal status, yes, you can apply for the DV program even in the USA. Can my spouse and I submit different entries? Yes, your spouse and you can submit different entries. Indirectly, that gives you like 2 entries, because if your spouse gets, you will be a dependent, and if you get, your spouse will be a dependent. So you and your spouse can submit different entries. Must I submit my own entry or someone else do it for me? It is highly encouraged that you put in your own application yourself. However, if you need somebody to help you, make sure that the information the person is using is true and represents you. And also, this person should give you your confirmation number when they are done submitting your application. The confirmation number is yours to keep, not the person who did the application for you. So once the person helps you and is done, the person should give you your confirmation number. The email address that the person will use should be an email address that you have access to. If you submit an entry and you do not receive the confirmation number, it means the entry was not recognized or counted. You can submit another entry. When you are selected, you do not receive an email. You will need to check with your confirmation number. When you come out successful, you do not receive an email When you are refused to or when you are rejected, the same way you do not receive any email, you need to check with your confirmation number, and that is the only way you know whether you were selected or rejected. When you are selected, when can you apply for your visa? 2026 fiscal year actually starts from October 1, 2025 to September 30th, 2026. And that is when you can apply for a visa. October 1, 2025 to September 30th, 2026. If by the end of the fiscal year you have not been able to get your visa, you cannot carry it on into the next year. So it's not everybody who gets selected who is able to travel, because some do not even get their visas and the fiscal year ends. If you do not get a visa in the fiscal year ends, you cannot carry it on into the next fiscal year. You need to check early. Make sure that once you come out successful, you are ready to start the process. Do not wait for too long. Otherwise, when the fiscal year ends, you cannot carry it over into the next year. What happens if the selected principal applicant dies? If a selected principal applicant dies, the dependents cannot go. So if you apply with your husband, and God forbid, your husband was the one who came out successful, or you applied with your wife and your wife was the one who came out successful but was not able to get the visa, and God forbid she passes on, the rest of you cannot go. Okay, you cannot go without the principal applicant. How much does it cost? It doesn't cost any money at all. There are no fee charges to apply for this program. Once you're eligible, feel free to put an application in. You can never tell. Yeah. The last question I would want to address is, if I receive a visa through the DV program, will the US government pay for my airfare to the United States, help me find housing and employment? If you go through successfully and you are selected and then you get a visa, will the government, US government, pay for your airfare, provide housing and healthcare? The answer is no. No, the US government will not provide any of these services to you if you receive a visa through the DV program. If you are selected to apply for a DV, before being issued a visa, you must demonstrate that you will not become a public charge in the United States. Before you receive a visa, you must demonstrate that you will not become a public charge in the United States. So you need to have money. You need to have money. Otherwise, you may not even receive the visa to go and be a burden on the United States. If you are selected and submit a diversity visa application, you should familiarize yourself with the Department of State Public Guidance and how the likelihood of becoming a public charge is assessed, and what evidence can be provided to demonstrate that you are not likely to become a public charge. So this is proof of funds to show that you are not going to become a burden on the government of the USA. So if you are interested in putting in the application, I will urge as many people as can to put in an application. You can never tell. Once you are eligible, put in an application. When you come out successful, once you put in an application and everything goes through, by May 3rd, you would know the results starts coming in, and you know whether you were rejected or accepted. So there's still time to put some monies aside and all that, so that you do not get selected and be denied visa because you are not able to prove that you are not going to be a burden on the US government. I am sure that we have clarified many of the questions we had on our minds. You do not need a passport to apply, but once you apply, please try as much as possible to work on getting your passport, as in some countries this may take quite a time. I mean, if you are interested in traveling, you should work on getting a passport. I hope we are all clear about what the DV program is, the eligibility criteria, and we have also gone through the information we even need to provide on the form. With all this, I hope that we are all adequately informed and ready to put in a very good application. It is my prayer that your application gets selected for you to achieve your dream of migrating to the USA. But first, you need to put in the application. Do not give up, no matter the number of times you have done this. Don't give up. You may only be one step away. You do not know. Don't give up, guys. Don't give up. Put in the application. You never know. Okay? Put in the application. Put in the application. You never know. Once you meet the eligibility criteria, put in the application. There is no minimum age requirement. There is no maximum age requirement. Once you meet the eligibility criteria, put in the application. You may never know. This is how your travel dream may be coming true. If you don't put in the application, that will not be possible. So please do well to put in the application. Thank you all so much for spending this time with me. I'm very grateful, and see you in my next video. Bye.